Hello, Brave Nation. It's Brave Roundup for Brave 18 in the Kingdom of Bahrain. We have 3 incredible title fights on this card. We've got the Bantamweight Championship, the Flyweight Championship, and the Lightweight Championship. Farah, let's start with you on our main event. What do you feel about these 2 warriors going at it, and who do you think is going to win?
I think it's a fantastic matchup. It's one of those matchups where it could go anywhere because both guys are so well-rounded. Mineiro, obviously a veteran. I'd say most certainly the toughest test in El Sawadi's career. Sawadi's been on a fantastic run. He's been mixing it up really well with his wrestling, with his striking. But Mineiro brings everything as well. He brings the ground game, he brings the striking. So it'll be interesting to see each fighter's approach.
Kirik, your thoughts?
Abdul is probably my favorite fighter in this organization. In fact, he's one of my favorite fighters in the world. In fact, he's one of my favorite fighters in the history of combat sports. I love this man. I love what he stands for, and I hope he wins. Do I know he's going to win? No, I do not, because the reason you have a fight in this sport is because you don't know who's going to win.
Very true. Yusuf?
That's a tough question. You know, I've seen Silwadi grow up from an 18-year-old who made his pro debut back in Jordan and then progressed to where he is now. And this is a guy who, don't forget, he promised his father he would finish university. He did that, moved to the United States, and decided to become a full-time fighter, training out of Fortis MMA, and he's dedicated his career to it. So this kind of feels like the culmination of Silwadi's career progression, but at the same time, like you said, he's coming up against, without a doubt, his toughest test to date. Mineiro really brings a very much, you know, an all-round game. Arguably, you might look at it and say Silwadi has a bit of an edge on the wrestling. Mineiro is the taller, longer fighter with vicious Muay Thai. Might sound cliche, but this one really could go either way. I think it really depends on which fighter implements his game plan better.
With these 2, you're talking about Mineiro at 20-3, a record which is just incredible in MMA today. He's fought just the who's who list of fighters getting there. Al Sawadi, I mean, 9-1 record. Started, as you said, he's 23 years old. Been in the game 5+ years. We were talking to his dad earlier tonight, and it was some amazing stories about his father would always teach him to protect his face, and he would literally reach out and slap him if his face was unguarded. So that's what kind of environment he came from. Both are cardio machines. Both are there for that belt, and we saw in that stare down at the open workouts in the press conference, these guys are ready to go. I mean, this is going to be absolute fire. Al Sawadi is my favorite fighter as well in Brave. He's always had that positive, great attitude, and an attitude of like, whatever happens, happens, I'm here to fight, and leave it all on the table. Who are you going to take if you had to pick one fighter right now?
That's tough. Again, for me, it really depends on who's able to implement their game plan better. I think if it goes to the later rounds, I would tend to favor Silwadi just because he's got cardio for days. For me, he has arguably the better wrestling. And if Mineiro is able to keep his distance a bit more, circle the cage a bit better, not allow Silwadi to trap him, work his strikes a bit more, then it's for, you know, then I would favor Mineiro. I'm sitting on the fence here. I completely acknowledge that, but for me, it is one of those fights where it could go either way, depending on who makes that 1% extra adjustment.
And Mineiro is dedicating this fight to Capital de Luta, his team, so he has his students that are watching, he has his peers, he has his followers, everyone that is looking to him to make a statement here, and he's looking to back it up. It's the most anticipated title fight in Brave history, will you agree?
Absolutely, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. It's one of those, I mean, it's a culmination of the prospect rising through the ranks, having now the chance to prove himself against the savvy veteran who's seen it all, done it all, and is at the pinnacle of the sport. Yeah, it's just that perfect fight where everything, it's a perfect storm. Everything has come together for this one.
Perfect storm indeed. Next we have the Flyweight Championship on the line. What do we think here?
I like this fight because Marcel Adura, aggressive striker, very good in the clinch, a knockout artist, and then you got Veli Morad, who's a very good grappler. We saw his last performance against Sean Santa, very impressive. Didn't expect him to dominate the way that he did. So I do believe he's going to try to take that fight to the ground. And with Adura, I like his clinch work a lot, great devastating knees as well. So it'll be really interesting when they close the distance.
Kirik?
As we've discussed before, both in front of Brave Nation and personally, wrestling is the single greatest discipline in mixed martial arts. If you want to strike, you can strike. If you want to fight on the cage wall, you fight in the cage, or you fight wherever you want. I think Billy Murad has the greater wrestling in this fight, and I believe that's going to take the win home for him.
It's again, for me, it's another tough one. Belly Murad obviously is a Russian and European and World Combat Sambo champion. His record is 5-0, but really, we all know that 5-0 is not reflective of his skills. This is a man who beat Sean Santella, a 23-fight veteran, did so fairly handedly. He did get caught once, which also leads me to think that if Sean Santella can catch him with a strike, Marcel Adour can definitely as well. So it really depends. I think the first round will tell us a lot about this fight. Will tell us who'll be able to implement his game plan more. Marcel Adour has the height and reach advantage, the striking advantage. Belly Murad will have to play it smart the first round. If he gets out of the first round, I think he can implement a more wrestling-based game plan and slowly grind out Marcel Adour. Marcel Adour has never been in a 5-round fight. Belly Murad has been in 3. Let's see who can implement it better.
Good point, good point. Marcel Adour, let's not forget, is a powerful striker.
Absolutely.
I mean, one of the best that we've ever seen. Explosive, quick, dynamic. He could end this fight very quickly as well, although his hands will be full if he goes to the ground with Belly Murad.
100%. Belly Murad, I mean, again, Sean Santella, who you know, in his, I think, 18 pro victories, 17 were by submission, played a very smart game plan where he did not go to the ground with Sean Santella, and when he did go to the ground, was very careful about not leaving his arms or any limbs out, and then working his way up slowly back to the feet. Against Marcel Adour, I think he'll be more comfortable on the ground. But again, I mean, Marcel Adour, flyweight, people say flyweights can't knock out. Tell Marcel Adour that,
right.
You know?
Right.
I mean,
he didn't listen to that.
No. The guy hits like a featherweight, you know? So, yeah, this is a really good one. And I think this could either literally end in the first 2-3 minutes, or it could be a 25-minute decision. It depends.
Another great fight. I mean, this night is just full of explosive action. We've also had the Bantamweight title on the line. Steven Sniper Lohman from the Philippines going against just a tough man in Felipe Efrain. And you know what? Felipe Efrain, if you've watched him grow and mature, and he's been working really hard right in front of our eyes, and he has wanted this title for a long time, the shot, and he's finally got it. And a lot of people that are counting him out in this should open their eyes. They're going to be surprised. Felipe Efrain is the total package, so he can give Lohman all that he can have.
100%. I mean, on paper, it's a very evenly balanced fight. I think, you know, Efrain's a walking highlight reel, right? Let's not kid ourselves.
Right.
Wael Watson, Morocco against Arnold Caro. I mean, that was bordering on watching, you know, a snuff film, really, at this point. And I mean, what a KO! So, you know, on paper, you look at it and you think, okay, Lohman has to play it smart. Lohman cannot allow Felipe to settle into his rhythm and get his striking going. Having said that, people who fight Franz Malambo do not last more than 2 rounds, right? Before they either, you know, before they get knocked out, or Franz is a walking highlight reel, a KO machine. This man has gone 8 rounds against him. He's one of the smartest fighters from Being Brave. He knows when to clinch, when to grapple, when to take the fight to the floor, when to stand it up, when to, you know, he's one of the most cerebral fighters we have in the division. He makes adjustments in the round, and I think, you know, if Lohman performs like we know he can become the, you know, the first fighter in Brave to defend his belt twice in a row.
And don't forget, Lohman is at 23 years old, the youngest Brave champion ever. And one thing about the Filipino fighters, I mean, they are so disciplined and tough and durable. And just when you talk to them outside of the cage, they're so nice and polite and courteous. And inside the cage, they're just complete monsters.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at him, you look at Jeremy Pakachu. You were there for Jeremy's last fight, no? I mean, that was What was that? That was insane.
That was incredible.
That was insane.
One of the best fights that we've seen.
Absolutely.
Could have been stopped against Illumi. They could have stopped
Anytime.
at any time and just kept going and going and going. That, as you said, calling Illumi in the cage afterward a hero in front of his home crowd in Pakistan was one of the best moments that we've had in Brave.
That's one of my favorite moments in the history of this whole entire sport. And it does bring up something that I wanted to interject with, but now I can flow right into it. The sport of mixed martial arts currently suffers from an excess of testosterone. There's too many guys shoving each other over, and there's too many people cheering it on, which is why the guys do it. I've been in the sport forever. I know why the guys do it. In 1% of the cases, they actually don't like each other. The other 99% of the cases, they're doing it to play to the crowd. Mixed martial arts needs a change. The word martial arts is in there. It's supposed to stand for more than shoving another guy. One of the teams that most develops character in this entire sport is Team Lakai, and I did want to give them a big shout out right now because that is a great coach doing great things, not just for martial arts, but for the world.
He's talking about Coach Mark Sanjayo, who is just an incredible coach, has been a father figure for so many fighters over at Team Lakai, and has really made an impact on the world with their fighting
massively. They have champions across multiple divisions, and one thing sticks out with Coach Mark. And when I asked him, what is it that you look for when you recruit fighters to your team, when you decide this is the guy I'm developed, and he says, for me, it's about developing a good citizen. And I think that's very much what he does. It's a good citizen. He's a martial artist, but he is also making sure that they're well educated, that they're taken care of, that they're kind to their peers.
And good family, strong values.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw this to Farah though, because I think Farah, this is probably the fight that you're most looking forward to, if I'm not mistaken. I know you're quite a big fan of Felipe's knockout, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Definitely. I think Loman, he used a heavy grapple approach with Franz Mulambo because he saw that as a key to victory. And with Efrain, I do believe that Loman could take this to the ground as well. Efrain is actually very good, underrated on the ground. He just wants no part of the ground. He always wants to show off his striking. So I believe that even if Loman tries to take it to the ground, that Efrain's going to try to get right back up just because he loves to strike. He loves to finish the fight quickly. Now it's a 5-round fight, it's a championship fight. I'm wondering if Efrain is not going to come out the gate really strong just to pace himself because it's a 5-round fight, so that will be interesting to see. Otherwise, I do believe he comes out aggressive, he wants the quick knockout, and he also has to be careful not to fall into a takedown if he gets too aggressive with striking.
True, and you can't sleep on Loman's power.
Yes.
We saw that against Gary Manga, right? Gary felt very comfortable, had that karate style, his hands were a bit low, and it literally just took one split second too long in the pocket was enough for Loman to catch him with a vicious left, and we had a new Bantamweight champion.
And I love the philosophy of Team Lakai and Coach Mark Sanjayo. I mean, bringing back that old school aspect, like Kirik was talking about, of mixed martial arts, of the respect, of the pride, of the care and concern for the other individuals you're fighting. It is a sport, and those guys are just so well versed in all areas, and on top of it, like you said, are great human beings. Absolutely. So that makes it makes you an immediate fan of them from the beginning. 100%.
It's very hard to dislike Team Lakai. Also on the main card of this fight, we have a really interesting bantamweight fight. You've got Robert Emerson, a veteran of the sport, going against none other than Magomed Rasul Khazbulaev, also known as Frodo. Right? Frodo, arguably one of the best in his division for the past 5-6 years, has had visa problems that have dogged him for a while. He's not been able to compete in the US, has had a chance to compete in Russia, now in Asia and Bahrain, and he's going against someone who beat someone who would have been the title challenger in Shamil in his last fight. So again, he comes up against one of his teammates, another Chechen. Is this a story of redemption? What do you think in this one? I mean, you must have seen some of Robert's fights before.
I've seen many of Robert's fights. One of my many favorite things about mixed martial arts is compared to boxing. It doesn't have the boxing model. In the boxing model, you take somebody who's a prospect, you have them fight 15 tomato cans in a row, they fight one, maybe possibly 2 gatekeepers, they get a title shot. Some boxing works. It's got a lot of problems. Mixed martial arts doesn't do that, but I do see Emerson as being in something akin to a gatekeeper role. I am not insulting in any way, shape, or form. I know what a tremendous fighter is. I'm just saying he's not the best fighter on the planet. He's calling the second best fighter. in this gatekeeper role, I do see him getting stopped by Frodo.
Interesting. I mean, Frodo definitely has the tools to make this a very messy one. The stare down at the weigh-ins was quite intense, no? What was your thought on that one?
Yeah, very intense. I mean, Emerson seemed a bit surprised by it, but I just feel like it's the vibe that Frodo and his whole crew have. They're intense, they're here to fight. They don't do much talking, they're just all intense. He's a combat sambo champion. I see him just taking this to the ground pretty easily. Emerson's crafty, he's a veteran, he's fought a lot of people and he's got a lot of wins by submission as well, but I just see the game plan pretty clear for Frodo taken down, and I feel like he'll be able to do that in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic scrap, I think.
Frodo's really the real package. I mean, he's the overall package of a fighter. He doesn't really have any weaknesses at all to speak of. His whole game is tight. So Emerson has got to find a way to bring his best game that he's ever had in his life to that cage that night to take on Frodo and come out with a victory. It doesn't look good. Like you said, they talk with their fists, with their actions in the cage, and they are ready and focused. And that stare down, I tell you what, that was intense. And we had brave President Mohammed Shahid up there all alone, ready to break up. Two warriors ready to go at it. And it was something to be seen. And I tell you what, I think Frodo's going to do some damage in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, Hamad Shah did definitely try to keep them apart, but he has two broken shoulders, so he frankly did a miserable job of keeping them apart.
We need more security.
We do need more security, which is why for this next stare down that came, both Lucas and I came up on stage and decided to help Shahid. That was Abdurrahman Dudayev against none other than Joy Time Manglo. This is a great fight from WFCA. Dudayev is their Bantamweight champ, and he's taking a 3-round non-title fight now to be a part of this showcase card here in Bahrain. What were your thoughts on Dudayev?
Very tough, very good, solid fighter. This is going to be just another one of those real classic battles. I mean, you know, you've got Guam against Russia. As we said, Guam has the ever-improving ground game. They're evolving so fast right in front of our eyes. And you've got the Russians with the fantastic game all around. It's really an interesting matchup that could go either way.
Speaking of it going either way, Kirik, you had a very interesting insight on this one. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you thought that they might just be underestimating Joe Manglo on this one.
I do not know if I would phrase it that way. I have to give WFCA huge props for, as I said to you guys earlier today, if I had to look across the entire planet and find the one guy I didn't want to fight, it would be Joe Manglo. He is coming off a win over Joe Warren. I can make an argument, I'd probably lose, but I can make an argument that Joe Warren's the best wrestler ever in mixed martial arts. He brings an extraordinary wrestling game to mixed martial arts. Manglo just beat him. So they're taking their man's biggest advantage, looking across the entire planet and going, you, come here and fight our guy. And I give them huge props for stepping up like that.
Definitely. I think this one could potentially be the fight of the night. It has all the makings of it. You know, two well-rounded veterans. They've seen it all. They've done it all. Joe might have the better submission skills, particularly off his back. So yeah, I mean, this is a great scrap.
Joe's confidence is at an all-time high right now.
Oh yeah.
His coach's confidence at an all-time high.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see where this one goes. This one really could go anywhere.
12 wins by submission for Manglo. He brings the wild, frenetic pace, which is what I love about him, which could actually, this one could make the fight interesting because he's so wild and frenetic with it, with his striking and crafty off of his back as well, which could surprise the dive. It's exactly the kind of style you need against a guy like that, who's just solid with his grappling and his game plan.
Definitely. I mean, two fantastic fights by WFCA. Do not miss those two fights. They are just before the main event. Fantastic scraps. Make sure to watch them.
WFCA joining forces with Brave Combat Federation for Brave 18, making history as the largest MMA event in Asia's history. I mean, we have such an incredible event this week with Brave International Combat Week, with the IMFs going on. It's just something to be seen, to be here in this atmosphere, to have all of the dignitaries and celebrities and the buzz is just incredible here in Bahrain.
It really is. I've been involved in the sport since the very beginning on a professional basis. Brave 17 in Pakistan was the best show I ever saw live, and this show is better. If you like martial arts, if you love martial arts, if you even like martial arts a little bit, you have to watch this show.